many fans you are in this shit.
Welcome back to MDG Media. You are at EUROTOUR stop number 5, the Skelleftea Open. This is the front 9 from round 2. I'm your host, Nate Perkins, and I'm here with Elias Luukkonen. We are here at the beautiful disc golf Terminalen course all the way in the north of Sweden at Skelleftea. Man, what a beautiful track to play, huh?
Yeah, beautiful. One of the cleanest courses we play all year. Very fair fairways, as you would like from this level of course. Paul McBeth shooting the hot round in round 1, going 7 under, which is an incredible round on this course. Lauri Lehtinen not far behind, shooting 5 under in the first round. Still possibly able to improve on that if he shoots a great round. I think the hot round that all of these players are going for is somewhere around 8 or even 9 under, since the conditions are very good.
And Lauri, fresh off a win on the European Pro Tour, he took down the Tuni. Back-to-back years, he's taken that tournament down now. And Samuel Hänninen, another Finnish rising star. I've seen him put together quite a few good rounds this season already. And Luke Samson making his first European appearance. Pretty stoked to watch his game. He is throwing a full Castaplast lineup, which I believe is made here in Skelleftea now. Here we are, hole 1, 219 meters. There is one tree in the middle of this fairway that kind of either forces you to throw that hyzer around it, or if you want to get a little bit more aggressive, you can kind of get on top of a driver straight, push that back wall and kind of hyzer up just in front. You're looking to throw maybe 110 meters off this tee to get yourself into position to attack here. And then there's another specific hyzer that you have to throw towards this road. Right side of the road is out of bounds, and you want to check up before that. And this basket is tucked behind this wall of birch trees. Lauri's always got a big smile on his face.
Samuel too, one of the more casual pro level players. Really has a short, compact routine and really good at just throwing the disc.
Okay, first up on the lead card from the United States, sponsored by Discraft, 6-time world champion, Paul McBeth.
I think a good thing to keep an eye on this drive is, are these players going to go right side of that first tree or left? If you go right, you have to throw something with a more of a steep hyzer. You can see the tree in the middle of the fairway. But if you go right like Paul is, you can possibly get a little bit more left at the landing zone. Looks like Paul has pulled his right though, and he hit the right side trees. That's in the fairway, but pretty short.
From Finland, sponsored by Latitude 64 and Friba Store, Lauri Lehtinen.
Yeah, Paul was throwing those Athenas so well yesterday. Curious to see how that first missed shot will affect him over the next few.
Yeah, probably not much, honestly, knowing his level of play. Lauri looks to be going for the straighter route. This is actually looking very good. You want to fade just around these trees to the left. And Lauri, he's in a perfect position there. Only about 85 meters to the basket from there.
Next, from Finland, sponsored by XL Discs and Merel, Samuel Hänninen.
So do you know this XL discs lineup pretty well?
I know some of their discs. Samuel is still throwing a mixed bag, since XL doesn't have all the discs required yet. But they have some good discs. They have a nice understable fairway driver, some good slow discs. But I believe there he's going with a destroyer of sorts. That's also a good position there.
Up next,
Right in the
from
middle.
the United States, sponsored by Kastaplast, Samson!
Actually, met Luke on the bus today before this round, and he seemed to be very lighthearted, so I expect him to be not very nervous, seem to have a good time in the morning, be very casual. He's also going for that hyzer and needs it to swing left. That is just on the edge, whether it's too far right or whether he actually has a good shot to the basket from there.
Yeah, and all Luke does is play disc golf, so he's definitely ready for this moment. He lives and breathes this game, and he's one of the hardest workers that I know. He's the guy that will just show up to a putting green with a stack of 20 discs. Paul going flippy driver here, going to try and shape the second half of this fairway.
Very difficult shot from here. Important to keep it turning. And he does not quite do that, fading to the left side. And from there, only about 50 meters left, but so many trees in the way. He might have to scramble. Luke going for this inside gap. Very difficult gap to hit, but he hits it well and skips quite far forward. I believe he might be in jump putt range from there.
Yeah, nice early gap right there. It was a pretty dangerous gap to attempt. Samuel almost in perfect position. He still had to shape an Annie initially, and he just kind of threw it straight. Common miss there. Lauri in the prime position. Gonna go hyzer here. Perfect speed. That's the step outside the bullseye.
Yeah, that was a perfect approach, and you saw Lauri had that angle to go further right, which allowed him to swing that hyzer in. So really important to get that drive far off the tee. As someone throws touchy forehand roller there. He's one of the more versatile throwers of the disc. He really has all the shots. And a very technical player. Nice to see him on this lead card. As Paul almost makes it from 25 through the woods.
Yeah, that forehand roller was laid down with perfect pace. He's up and in for the par. A lot of people bogeyed from the front side of the wall of birch trees right there. Lauri for the lone birdie on the card.
Nice birdie there. This is definitely a good one to get. Even though it is playing as 9th most difficult hole, it is still playing 0.4 strokes above par. So just showing how difficult this course overall is. Playing well above par, but still not even one of the more difficult holes. Not a surprising score there from the lead card. 3 pars and a great birdie from Lauri.
Hole 2, just 102 meters, but the difficulty here is that you have to feed your disc through this double Mando, and they've backed the tee up this year. Mando's maybe 4 meters across, but it's like, I don't know, maybe 40 meters off the tee, and so it's just far enough to make the gap seem small. And you know, when you're hitting your lines, it could probably feel easy to you, but if you're just feeling a little bit off, this is a tough gap.
Yeah. If you hit the gap with the right disc, you're almost always within at least circle 2. Looks like Lauri hit the gap perfectly, but goes with something very straight. Does not get that left finish that you need to be in the circle. And he's gone long and straight. Probably still on the far edge of circle 2, but difficult putt there. Paul with what looked like an early release.
Yeah, goes to overcorrect on that late release, and wow, he's missed the Mando. That's an instant bogey. Oh, and that looked early as well. And it was.
That's easy to do on this hole because the shape of the hole would prefer a hyzer shape. You want to release something on a slight hyzer. As Luke looks to have missed the Mando on the other side. Very surprising 3 misses here. But as I said, the gap suits better for the flat release, but the line is more of a hyzer. So it's easy to make some sort of mistake on this drive. Drop zone is pretty simple, just 70 meters approach, as Paul shows there. So all of these players should really get up and down from here.
Oh, and Lauri gives that a good bid from the edge of circle 2. And he's going to pick up his stroke on this card. 3 out of 4 missing the Mando. Not something you would expect, but it's also very possible.
Yeah. Not from these players, at least. Looks like Lauri is gonna be tied for the lead after this hole. That's how quickly those 2 strokes might evaporate from the lead from Paul. I believe for these top players, they really prefer to be 1 under through the first 2 holes. Neither of them are very easy birdies, but both very gettable if you throw a good drive. And being 1 over like Paul, Samuel and Luke, that is far from what they're looking for. But might actually give a bit of a motivation for the rest of the round, you know. You take that bad start and then you feel much more determined to play well after.
All right, hole 3, hardest hole on the course, 231 meters. There's OB on the left side of this first half of the fairway, and then it kind of makes this pinch point right here in front of the old tee pad, this little road. There's OB left and right, and then it opens back up for the second part of this fairway. The OB continues up this right side, and there's a couple birch trees in the middle of this little field that makes you shape something on either side of them, and they've put this basket back here into this little pocket in the trees. We just saw 4 birdies during round 1.
Lauri going for the forehand gap. It's a bit of a wider gap, I believe. Important thing on the forehand is to make it swing right at the end, which Lauri did pretty well. But usually the forehands still end up a little bit more on the left side of the gap, which leads to hyzer approach shots. And Paul going for the more aggressive, more distance potential inside line, but catches some right side trees.
Yeah, Athena seemed to get just a little understable on him on that line. And Samuel pushes that forehand a little straight. Luke also going to go with that forehand. He has a ton of power.
Going with a steep hyzer angle. Just hits the inside tree. If he would have gotten around that, he would have been in perfect position. Now he will have to probably settle for the par. Just trying to get through the gap here and into the second field.
But I think par would be pretty great from where he's at right now. This is a really demanding second. He is going across that little road. Oh, and checks up just short of it. Tough spot here. Going with his flippier force. Early out of the hand. Looks like it just made it past that out of bounds. Whoa.
That had all the ingredients for a catastrophe there from Paul. Luckily it did go over the OB. And Samuel actually has an angle to flip something up, trying to go all the way to the basket. And he's at the mouth of the gap. That was a huge hyzer shot from where he was. Only has 25 meters left and possibly a chance for the birdie.
Beautiful shot from Lauri. Wow, he's up and in the circle. Man, just the audible snap that Lauri Lehtinen has. Probably one of the louder snaps I hear.
Yeah, I agree. Probably grips their disc really hard. And he throws far too. As we saw a good approach from Luke. The edge of the circle. And Paul has these 2 trees to contend with.
And pulls that Luna and just gets all the luck in the world to filter through that right side. That was fortunate. And yeah, I noticed on Lauri's shot actually, Eli, that Elias, that he was like fan gripping it. Did you know that he fan grips his drivers?
No, I had no idea, but that's very surprising since he throws the disc pretty hard. Let's see if he can get the birdie here. Only 6% of the field getting the birdie on this most difficult hole in the course, playing almost a full stroke above par. Of course he does. Perfect putt there and great start to be 2 under through 3 holes.
And what do you think about Lauri's setup right there, the way that he kind of holds that putter flat?
I think it's good. You know, trying to find that flat angle, which he also has on his putting stroke. So everybody has their own routines, obviously, and works great for him. As we saw Luke getting a par. Looks like everybody is getting out of this hole without any bigger damage, which is pretty impressive, since only Lauri had a really good drive here.
Yeah, Lauri picking up a rare birdie, and he has taken the solo lead. All right, hole 4, another really demanding par 4 that they have created for this event. 225 meters. Some players in the field, actually a lot of players in the field, are laying this one up short of this pond. They've got this pond staked off, and there's some OB stakes in the right trees as well. If you do clear the pond, you're left with kind of 2 gaps to choose from. Some birch trees in the middle. A lot of players are going with this left gap. The trouble with this hole is once you're out of position and you're caught up in the birch forest, it's just so hard to scramble. That's why you see a lot of really big numbers here on the 4th.
Yeah, it's also one of the more difficult holes on the course. 5th most difficult. And this shot that Lauri is going for is difficult, but if you execute it, it gives you a huge advantage. That is big. That is the best drive I have seen on this hole.
Gosh, that's incredible. Just perfect speed, stability, just totally connected right now with his disc. It looked a little overturned from Paul. Looks like he is safe.
Samuel is also a player that has a lot of power on the backhand side. You can see that power going well over the pond. Just fades out a little bit left, but the left side, if you don't go too deep, you still have some good gaps to go. So I wouldn't be surprised if he still had even a chance for the birdie. It looks like everybody on the card is going for that aggressive shot. This is another just perfect looking throw. In the fairway, well over the pond, only about 90 meters left from there.
Yeah, Luke goes with a little bit different line than Lauri. He goes kind of with the flippier driver and kind of throwing it flat and letting it drift, while Lauri kind of forced that one over. And so Paul actually found a little pocket of safe short of that out of bounds. You can see the disappointment there. Luke in a good position. He's got to throw a steep hyzer forehand here.
Yeah, going for that left side forehand gap is the most common option, but the gap isn't super big. And Paul here, having to flex a forehand, has to put some anhyzer on this at first and then hopefully flex back at the end. Looks like he has thrown it pretty well. That's a great shot inside the circle there from a very awkward position.
And Samuel, from an awkward stance, finds that right gap, feeds it through it, and he's inside the circle for a birdie.
Paul here, trying to get that par save. Would be a great scramble after that. Almost a disaster drive. That's tough. He's going to be 2 over through 4 holes, which they are some of the more difficult holes on the course, yes. Oh my god. That didn't just happen.
You've been saying it, Elias, that these baskets, they're wide. They catch a lot of putts that maybe one go in on another one, but off the pole, we do see that happen with these. And, you know, to comment on Paul's putt, you could almost see that he almost like rushed the way that he draws the putter down. He kind of went a little quick, and I feel like that's why he pulled that one, and that's a frustrating bogey for him. He's 2 over through 4. Lauri's 3 down. He's lost 5 strokes in the first 4 holes. Whoa.
Yeah, huge moves here. Lauri didn't really even have a putt to make there, so perfectly played hole by him, really showing off that big drive and how that advantages him.
All right, hole 5, last one on this side of the road. 104 meters. This one used to be just dead straight. You can actually see the basket laying down where this classic hole used to be, and they've kind of pushed this one into the wood line here, and there's just OB wrapped all the way around this bucket. It's, you know, maybe 4 meters on each side, maybe even closer on that backside. Just a few meters away, and a lot of players are throwing a kind of a stable mid out on that right side and letting it just hyzer in.
Lauri going with that flat to slight hyzer release. Many players are trying to land just slightly right off the basket, hopefully take that small slide down there. Lauri does that pretty well, but he still has a scary putt left from, I believe, about 10 meters. Samuel looks like more of an aggressive line. This needs to have a right distance, and it just quite doesn't, and that's another insanely scary putt there.
Yeah, and a good stick right there, and that's kind of a theme out here is the grass is so lush this year, and there's just not a lot of skips. There's not a lot of rollaways at this course, you know, compared to some of the other courses like Krokal, for example. You and I mentioned that the difference in the difficulty here is that the greens are all kind of slow.
Yeah, very almost easy to land that disc slow on each green. As Paul goes inside, we saw Luke also going inside, finding an OB, but Paul actually hits the tree on the inside. That's a great break. He was fading towards OB there.
He was certainly fading out of bounds, and yeah, his timing is just a little off right now. Luke for par, 12 meters. Luke is also going to find himself 2 over through the first 5.
Samuel with the conventional low miss on this hole, as you don't want to go OB long with the putt. This is actually the 5th or the 4th easiest hole on the course, but still playing above par on average, so showing off how difficult the course is. Lauri with the very confident putt there, not scared of the OB at all. Unfortunately hits the band there. Pull for par here.
All right, we head across the road. This one's right near the clubhouse. This is actually an original hole out here at Disc Golf Terminalen. 135 meters. Very specific shape. For the right-hand backhand, it's just a high-speed driver that is turning the entire way and not hyzering out. There's out of bounds 10 meters right and 6 meters long.
Very seldomly birdied hole. Most of the field is taking par on this hole, and that's solely because the drive is so difficult to hit perfectly. Lauri has a great angle on this, but misses it to the left. If that was thrown towards the fairway, it would have been perfect, but now he has to deal with a long circle 2 look. Let's see if Samuel can get it right here. Important to keep the disc relatively low. You don't want to throw a high shot. As you can see, even with this height, the disc is fading easily into the left side woods.
Flip your force here for Paul, and just doesn't get on that one either. Early out of the hand, almost overthinking his swing right now.
Very surprising. This hole is not easy, but seeing how Paul has played for the first 5 holes, he really needs to get his game together soon if he still wants to compete for that leading spot. Luke there, great shape, but just a touch too low, didn't quite have that time to get that full glide. So nobody in the circle here, not very surprising. Let's see if we can get some fireworks on the putting green.
Paul outside circle 2. From the grave. That's how he's going to card his first birdie of the round. From 25 meters? What do you think, Elias?
I think at least 25. I didn't know that was coming, but that's one way to start off your burning on the round. Wow. Maybe that's going to give him some confidence going on forward. Let's see if Luke can match that.
Oh, looked good from here. Samuel, similar distance to the last putt.
It's a very strong C2 putter. You can see that spinny stroke effortlessly gets a lot of distance and speed on that putt. Just high there. Lauri too, very scary putter. One of the best putters in Finland, I believe. And of course he makes it from there, just outside the circle. And that's a dream start, being 4 under through 6.
Yeah, 4 under through 6, and if you recall, he hit cage on 2 and band on 5. So he's really playing some good disc right now.
But I believe that's what can happen sometimes on this course. You know, when you're throwing that disc well, it can really feel like almost an easy course, which is definitely not.
Really fun par 4 here, 179 meters, and you have to land in one tiny little landing zone if you're gonna attack this one for birdie. For the right hand backhand, it's a hyzer flip, something that gets up to flat and just kind of rides straight and doesn't hyzer too much, because there is out of bounds on the left side of that fairway. Then there's a Mando up here at the corner that prevents you from cutting through the trees. So you have to push it maybe 105 meters off the tee to be in position for this little tunnel as you approach this green. And then there's a hazard just a few meters behind this pin.
The more you're left on this drive, the more you open up the approach. But the more you're left, the closer you are to the left side OB. Looks like Lauri is throwing a great shot, fading towards that left side. But I believe he does stay safe there. Great position if you're that far forward and also that far left. Should be a pretty easy angle to approach the green. And Paul, somehow missing the gap, still goes through, but he's punished with that left side OB. Went too far left. It's a pretty big miss, missing this gap. It's not a tight gap, it's just a tight angle that you have to throw through the gap. Somehow missing it on the other side. It's also a common thing to do, since the gap requires kind of a flip-up shot. If you flip it up too much, you're going to find the right side woods.
He needs to check up. Crowd likes it. I think it's safe. Samuel in a tough spot here. Just has to jump putt back to the fairway. Yeah, he'll have the angle from there. And Paul going to have to go patent pending from the OB line up and through the second half of this fairway. Very tough angle. Buzz SS here. Whoa. High level shot right there.
That's going to be a great par save. After that first birdie of the round, not continuing to take those bogeys is just so important. Luke here has a good angle to the green. Pretty standard hyzer forehand. Executes it perfectly, going high through the gap with something slow. It's also one of the skippier greens on the course. So if you throw it a little bit too hard, many people are skipping into the hazard. Lauri there inside the circle. Not a perfect approach, but well within his range.
And that shot by Paul just is a good display of touch. And you take that patent pending shot and you throw it too hard, that disc is just going to burn over in the ground. If you run that one back and watch how he just like puts a little bit of speed on it. No. Lauri from inside the circle, low cage.
That's surprising. That's super surprising. With his confidence being so high right now. As Luke takes a good, clean birdie there. Actually, Luke gonna take a stroke on the entire card here. After being 2 over through the first 6. He might have a bit of a chance to get his round together right now.
Yeah, another attackable par 4 here, 217 meters. I'd say the first 200 meters of this hole is pretty dead straight. You just need about 110 meters off this tee to be in position to attack. Get up here to the flat part of this fairway, and you're left with either a hyzer forehand or a backhand turnover. Pretty tough to get this angle perfect.
Yeah, this is actually the third most difficult hole on the course. Only 4% birdies here, really showing off how precise you need to be both on the first and especially on the second shot. Luke here has good distance, but is fading to the left side, and that's pretty much not a chance for a birdie from there. Instantly, if you go off the fairway, you pretty much lose your chance for that birdie.
Oh, Lauri getting a little too on top of that rive, and gets the bad kick too. And the left side is OB, the right side is just probably the densest rough on the course.
Yes. Everything off the fairway is not great. If you fade a little bit left, like both Paul and Luke did, you're still okay, because you're not OB and the woods aren't as thick. But yes, if you're on the right side of woods, then you're really not good. Looks like Samuel is going for the roller. Ultra aggressive player.
Is sick. Wow, what a line. He might have pinched his angle a little bit there, but I love the aggression. Oof. Just pulled that forehand, and that's going to put him in a really tough spot. Maybe the same spot he was in yesterday where he got up and down with that buzz.
Yeah, Paul probably still has a chance for that par, but very difficult, as Lauri is throwing that conventional forehand approach, trying to skip it into the green just a little bit short. And Paul here trying to go for pretty much an identical shot as yesterday. Goes a little bit lower, and that's another just beautiful turnover shot.
Man, this round is a lot different than yesterday for him. He's really grinding this one out. No way. And Luke had the angle, but he just had a small gap to feed it through right in front of him, and he kicks off to the right. And I actually heard a little rumor that this right side of this fairway caused Eric Oakley to have a lost disc penalty.
Yeah, really telling how thick that right side is if you go in there. And that was even with the approach, not the first shot. So you're not safe after your drive. Luke having to go with a cut forehand roller. Not a shot you ever want to throw, unless you're in a bad rough. And he's going towards the next hole's tee pad. Gonna be a difficult scramble from there, possibly. Hard to even tell who that was. I believe it might have been Samuel there, trying to get up and down.
Yeah, I think you were right. Here he is. I think this is for a par.
Pretty good run there. Another strong beat from circle 2. And Luke, what does he even have from here? He's towards the next tee pad, having to go spike hyzer putt over the guardian trees on the left side of the green. Does it pretty well though. He's within the bullseye. And Paul here, looking for that par save. And he does. That's an important stroke there. Not wanting to go back to +2 after that great birdie on 6.
Hole 8 showing some teeth.
It is one of the most difficult birdies on the course. Actually, only 3% of the field was putting from circle 1 for the birdie. So just showing off how difficult the shape of this approach is. Even as we saw Paul with that great approach, just barely making it inside the circle. We see a couple of bogeys there and a couple of pars.
Hole 9, 245 meters. You need to hit a series of early gaps with the driver Hyzer flip to flat. You want to cruise through this third gap here and out into this field and then see your drive start to hyzer. From here, you're left with, maybe 120 meter straight shot, depending on how far you push that hyzer flip off the tee. And there is a late gap here that makes this hole really hard to park from distance. There is a mandatory on the left side of this fairway. If you don't hit this gap right, you might have to navigate around that.
Lauri throwing a great looking shot, but not quite flipping it up as much as he would like. Battling with the left side and just barely gets enough distance to be on the primary fairway. He will probably have to throw either a forehand or, if he has the angle, a really tight straight shot. And Paul getting a little bit more flip here. He's well in the fairway on the left side as well, but that's just a perfect spot. Only about 95 to 100 meters left from there.
Yeah, that was his best release of the round so far. And Luke just a hair early as well. It shows you how difficult it is. Lauri and Luke's release look pretty good, but you really need it to flip up to flat and ride a little bit straighter.
Yeah, definitely more difficult on this hole to go too far straight. You see, most commonly players are going too far left too early, but somehow they're going with more of a higher line and just perfectly in the fairway, showing off some of that power that he has plenty of.
Luke out of position here. I think he's going to play a hyzer. Oh, actually, he has a straight shot. Take it back. And just flips it up a little too much. It kind of cruises to circle's edge.
Yeah, great result there. Samuel here, perfect position, being able to go with the mid-range here. Just a beautiful straight shot there.
Just late flipping and riding. Once it got to flat, that's a special shape. Paul, perfect position here. Actually going buzz.
Yeah, just a straight shot from where he is, and this is looking great. Even running for the basket, go in. Wow, great shot inside the circle once again.
Yeah, big moment for him, not to just be inside the circle for birdie, but to just have two clean releases back to back. Going to do a lot for the rest of his round.
Lauri Hell having to go with the flex forehand, perfect angle, and he's parked from the knee from 100 meters away.
Elias has his hands on his head right now, guys. He can't believe it, and that's going to be a 5 under front nine for Lauri with a lot of metal hits for birdie as well. And Samuel, great birdie, getting him on the board. Always feels good to not go birdie-less through 9 holes.
Yep, and it's a good one to get another one of these rare birdies, as Paul gets one of those as well. Only 10% of the field got the birdie here, so it looks like we're gonna have a good chunk of those birdies on this card.
And so as bad as Paul was playing, he finds himself at even on the front, which is respectable even when you're competing, for the win. He is going to lose 5 strokes to Lauri, but he's still only 3 back, still very much in contention.
Yeah, and the back nine is where you really make those hot scores. Lauri going 5 under in the front is great. Paul being par is not great, but it's okay because you can easily go 3, 4, 5, even 6 under on the back if you're playing really hot. Looks like Hänninen has actually jumped to the 3rd spot. There's a lot of separation between that 1st, 2nd and 3rd. And after that, just a lot of players near the 3rd spot. It's really anybody's game to get into that top 3.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining us here on MDG Media. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think of this course here in Skelleftea, Sweden. And from Elias, Luukkonen, and Nate Perkins, we will see you soon for the back nine of round 2 of the Skelleftea Open.